Hi, and welcome back to Focal Point, AFR Talk. Brian Fisher is my name. Great to have you in the conversation. And we are just awash in winnable war moments today. It's kind of fun. You know, we've got this dramatic victory for this homeschooling family. I mean, that law in Germany goes back to Hitler, that you can't educate your children at home. It's all part of the effort of the totalitarian regime of Adolf Hitler to control, brainwash, indoctrinate children. And then we have got two other winnable war moments, and I'm trying to think now of what they are. Oh, the victory for conservatism yesterday in Texas, dramatic, and the AFA Action.net voter guide had something to do with it. And Jeff, what's the other one I'm missing?
The guy that was not approved by the Senate.
Oh, yeah. And then that huge victory over the Obama's nominee for the Department of Justice for the Civil Rights Amendments. These are huge. Each one of these, ladies, is huge. So a great day to be alive. Those are significant victories for us. Number to call, 888-589-8840, 888-589-8840. And, Jeff, I don't know if I've got the link to the server up on my call screen software, so you may have to let me know if we've got what we've got going on there. Now, let's get back to the Ukraine thing just for a minute. Let's grab clip number 3. And again, I want you to see how desperate liberals are to try to defend and protect Barack Obama. They're just trying to make excuses for him now. They're not defending him. There are no liberals out there talking about what a wonderful leader we have and how his magnetism and how his charisma is controlling the flow of international events. And aren't we fortunate to have a leader of such vision and clarity and strength? You're not hearing anybody say any of that anywhere. The best they can do is to try to make excuses for why this thing is turning into a colossal diplomatic flop for the president. Here is a liberal professor, Stephen F. Cohen. Let's listen.
We've been crossing red lines ever since we began to move NATO toward Russia in the 1990s. Clinton began it, Bush continued it, Obama rhetorically has continued it. The ultimate red line, and unlike perhaps Obama, Putin really believes in red lines, was Ukraine. What Putin saw happening in Ukraine, for him, and we can argue whether it is or isn't, was a direct threat to Russian national security in the form of Crimea, and so he reacted.
So Professor Stephen Cohen say, hey, it wasn't that Russia crossed some kind of red line. It's that we crossed their red line. So Stephen Cohen saying, hey, it's our fault that Putin has invaded a sovereign and independent country. Now drop down to clip number 10. Here is Sarah Palin again with a devastating takedown. Remember Ralph Peters said, look, the problem here is that Putin believes in his country and we have a president that does not believe in his. Putin believes in Russia. Obama does not believe in America. And remember, they had that famous picture that the White House put up of President Obama talking on the phone to Vladimir Putin. He's in his jeans. He's got the sleeves of his shirt rolled up to make it look like he's hard at work, and he's digging his hands down in the soil of international diplomacy. And the weird thing is in the picture, he's looking right at his empty chair. He's looking at his chair sitting behind the Resolute desk, and he's not sitting in it. The chair is empty. It looked like he was doing his Clint Eastwood impersonation when Clint Eastwood spoke to an empty chair at the RNC. So here is Sarah Palin's takedown on President Obama.
Look, people are looking at Putin as one who wrestles bears and drills for oil. They look at our president as one who wears mom jeans and equivocates and bloviates. We are not exercising that peace through strength that only can be brought to you courtesy of the red, white, and blue, that only a strengthened United States military can do.
So Sarah Palin said, look, we got a president that wears mom jeans, and that's what I want. I mean, I'm not exactly sure what mom jeans are, but that was not an attractive pair of jeans he was wearing in that picture. I have no idea what the White House thought they were going to gain by releasing that picture. Remember, we discovered that President Obama was AWOL at the national security briefing on Ukraine, didn't even show up for it. And so that made no sense to me. And again, you know, we had that picture, Time Magazine put it up there, and the left went ballistic. President Obama on his Schwinn bicycle with the bicycle helmet, and got Vladimir Putin side by side out there riding horseback in the wilderness, looking like a fistful of dollars. And the image was that we've got Pee Wee Herman for president, and they've got Dirty Harry. Now, here is Ralph Peters, another clip from Ralph Peters, clip number 11, basically saying, look, Vladimir Putin has got Obama's number. Let's listen.
Putin has never backed down from anybody. He's not a bluffer. And he is trained as a KGB agent handler. He sizes up people well. He has Obama's number, and Obama's number is 0. This is a president who talks and does nothing. Putin, did he say, oh, I'm going to get Crimea, I'm going into Crimea, better look out? No, he did it. And that's the way you do it, fait accompli. And unfortunately, the only powerful leader in Eurasia right now, the only real leader is a horrible, horrible man named Vladimir Putin. And the West has no leader because the President of the United States, except rhetorically, is absent without leave. Obama, it's not that Obama wouldn't like to do something. He has no idea on earth what to do.
And so basically what Ralph Peters is saying, I mean, he says it straight out, Vladimir Putin's ex-KGB. He knows how to read people. He's read Obama. He's got Obama's number, and the number is 0. And the reality is what we're dealing with here is this really disturbing situation where it's not Vladimir Putin, that is threatening America's security. It's Barack Obama. The real threat to America's security in this situation is not Vladimir Putin. It is Barack Obama. Now, here's Charles Krauthammer, clip number 12, and then we'll go to the phones, 888-589-8840. Charles Krauthammer, and Ralph Peters saying, look, we've got a president that has no earthly idea what to do. He's got no idea what he's doing. So I think there's a combination here of arrogance and hubris and conceit and complete, utter ineptitude. He's simply over his head. He's out of his league. He's never swum in these waters before. The people around him, like John Kerry, in my estimation, are total buffoons. Joe Biden, he's got a clown car. He's riding in a clown car with these people that I think are just buffoons when it comes to important issues. They're not in a position to give him any kind of guidance. And you look at the guys that Bush surrounded himself with, Donald Rumsfeld, there's substance there. There's strength there. There's shrewdness there. There's analytical ability. You look at Dick Cheney, there's strength and substance and a soberness there. Condoleezza Rice. Now, I didn't always agree with these people, but nobody would argue with their knowledge and their expertise and their ability to size up the international scene and provide President Bush with good counsel. President Obama's got nobody like that around him, and I think it's by design. He doesn't want people around him that really have any idea what's going on. And another part of his ineptitude is just his cluelessness about the motivations of Russia. Here's Charles Krauthammer, clip number 12.
But it wasn't the weakness of Europe that precipitated all this, and it wasn't Obama's flinching on Syria. When Putin had to make a calculation whether to go into Ukraine, and Ukraine isn't Georgia, a small republic that is sort of on the fringes of the West. Ukraine's at the crossroads, a huge country. To go into Ukraine and detach and take over, to invade Crimea is a huge step. And he would only have done it with a president who has shown from the very beginning that he is living in a fantasy world. Remember the speech he gave at the UN? When he started his administration, he said no nation can or should dominate another. I mean, there's not a 12-year-old in the world who believes that. And he said the alignment of nations rooted in the cleavages of the long ago Cold War make no sense in this interconnected world. As our Secretary of State said today or yesterday, after all this is a 19th century action in the 21st century world, as if what he means is actions where governments pursue expansion, territory, domination, no longer exist in this century, as if that hasn't been a constant in all of human history since Hannibal. They imagine the world as a new interconnected world where climate change is the biggest threat, and they are shocked that the Russians actually are interested in territory.
So Krauthammer nailing it. The President Obama living in a complete fantasy world, has no understanding of human nature. He has no understanding of human history, probably doesn't care about human history. President Obama probably couldn't even tell you who Hannibal was. He's a guy that crossed the Alps with elephants and all that to attack Rome. He probably has no idea and doesn't care because he lives in this fantasy world of his own, imagining his own making. Let's go to the phones. Let's grab a call from Sam in Ashland, Ohio. Sam, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian.
Hey.
I called that number you gave out yesterday about the civil rights nominee,
Yeah.
and they forwarded me to Ohio's, and I wanted to let you know that they were all actually very polite, very open to what I had to say. They didn't cut me down or anything.
Uh-huh.
They put me right through and took down exactly what I wanted to say, and I didn't get the chance to ask how he planned to vote it.
Now, whose office were you calling?
I'm not sure. They
One of your
just forwarded me
senators
to-
there, one of your senators in Ohio?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Yep.
good. Well, good for you. And I mean, that's professional and appropriate for them to do that. And, and again, I think, Sam, your phone call is a part of what made the difference. So there was critical mass here in terms of the reaction from constituents. These people, and I will guarantee you, Sam, I don't know if there's anything you want to add before I let you go.
What's that?
Anything you want to add before I let you go? I want to comment on your call, but anything you want to add?
Actually, when I first called, there was actually a waiting. I had to be on hold in order to get through.
Cool
There
deal.
were so many people calling.
That's a cool deal.
Yep.
Well, and I'll tell you, Sam, and I appreciate you calling in to let us know that, give us that kind of report from the field, and I will flat out guarantee you that's one of the reasons why phone calls are the single most effective form of communication with elected officials that exists, more effective than emails. The only thing that might come close are faxes. And because the deal with a fax and the deal with a phone call, somebody has got to pull that fax out of the machine and look at it. Somebody has to physically handle that form of communication. Email, you can just delete it. You can delete them in batches if you want. But somebody's got to pull that fax out of the machine, and somebody has to pick up the phone. Somebody has to answer the phone. And if you get the voicemail, somebody's got to listen to the voicemail because they cannot exist. They're not going to get reelected if they ignore communication from constituents. So they have got to pay attention to phone calls. So phone calls extremely effective, extremely powerful. And obviously what happened with this defender of this cop killer, the phone calls reached a critical threshold. They had to pay attention. Even some Democrats were persuaded to do the right thing. And that's our job, as I see it, to make it as easy as possible for politicians to do the right thing. And we did that yesterday. Focal Point, AFR Talk.